Okay, so come let us get started. Continuing with our Shema, okay? And it's the when and the how. And Shema is certainly one of the more pervasive of the prayers of the tefillot that we have, because as we've been discussing, it is so fundamental. So of course the primary obligation of the Shema is right there in the Torah, in the Shema itself that we read twice a day. And the Torah teaches us, Vishinantam levanecha, teach it to your children, V'dibarta bam, and speak of them, B'shivtecha b'veitecha, when you are sitting in your house, Uvelechtecha v'derech, and when you are traveling on the road, Uveshach b'cha, uvkumecha, and when you are lying down, and when you get up. The Gemara on that says, the Gemara Bracha, source number 2, Lama nemar uveshach b'cha uvkumecha. What is meant when it says when you lie down and when you wake up? B'sha'ah shebnei adam shochvim, uvesha'ah shebnei adam sho'omdim. At the time people are lying down, at the time that people are getting up. What might I have thought otherwise? What might I have thought? It says b'sha'ach b'cha uvkumecha. What seems to make the most sense?
Middle of the day.
Okay, but once the Torah tells you b'shach b'cha when you lie down, uvkumecha when you wake up, right? So I would have thought it's not all of this zman kriyat shema. When you go to sleep, say it. When you wake up, say it. Right? We say at the time that people are waking up, and that's how we have the zman kriyat shema. The first 3 hours of the day, hours meaning halachic hours, meaning 3/12 of the daylight time, right? In the summer we have 14 hours of daylight. In the winter we have 10 hours of daylight. So either 1/12 of those 14 hours or 1/12 of those 10 hours. And then you have the Zman Kriyat Shema, you have the Magen Avram, you have the Vilna Gaon. Are we counting the day from the morning light until the stars come out? Or is the day, and we're taking 3/12 of that? Or are we counting the day from sunrise until sunset? Right? That's the filler on the roof shita. Right? From sunrise to sunset. Right? And we're taking 3/12 of that. But why is it like that? Why don't we say when you wake up, I'm sleeping in, I'm on vacation, I'm sleeping in till 11 o'clock that morning. So why should I have to get up at 8 o'clock to say Shema and then go back to sleep? Right? Let me, when I wake up, I'm waking up, great. Let me say my Shema right then and there. But the Gemara learns out that it's got to be at the time when people are lying down, at the time when people are getting up. And the Sifsei Chachamim, on the Rashi there that explains this in the Chumash, points out that if we're taking it literally, when you're lying down, right? So when you're sitting in your house, when you're walking on the road, when you're lying down, when you're waking up, then it comes out that you're always saying Shema. Either you're in your house or you're on the road. Right? So therefore he understands that no, it's telling you at which points of in your house in traveling. Right? So it's going beyond just you. Oh, at the times that people are lying down, at the times that people are waking up. And therefore it's not a personal, but it is a communal set time period. And those are the two main times that a person is obligated, min ha-Torah, to say the Shema. However, I think when we think of a daily Shema, what people often might think of is the bedtime Shema. Certainly with our children, right, we have more of an emphasis on the bedtime Shema than we have on any other Shmas. Where does that come from? So again, source number 3, again, the Gemara Bavli in Brachos. Amr Shur ben Levi, Shur ben Levi said, Afal pi shekara adam kriyat shema bebeit hakneset. Even though a person read the Shema in the shul, in the synagogue, at night, as part of the Mariv davening, right? Because we include the Shema, of course, in our Mariv and in our Shacharit. Nevertheless, mitzvah l'kroto al mitato. There is a mitzvah to read it while on one's bed. Rabbi Yossi says, Ma'ikra. What is the source for this? Rigzu, the pasuk in Tehillim, Rigzu, v'al techeta'u, imru bilvavchem, al mishkavchem, v'domu sela. Tremble and don't sin. Say it in your hearts while you're on your beds, and then, English says be utterly silent, or then you'll be in a silent state, right? Which is as you go to sleep. Amrav Nachman, in Talmud Chacham hu, ein sarich. If he's a Talmud Chacham, he does not need this extra protection afforded to a person by the saying of Shema. Abaye says, Av Talmud Chacham, mibayle v'meimar, chad psuke derachame. Even a Torah scholar should say at least one pasuk of such a prayer. Kigon biyadcha afkid ruchi. Right? Into your hand, Hashem, I entrust, I deposit my ruach, my spirit, my soul, and of course, that pasuk of Tehillim was incorporated into our Adon Olam. Okay, so we have the Shema in the morning, we have the Shema in the evening, and we have the Shema al Hamita, Kriyat Shema al Hamita. Now, if a person has properly said all three parshot of Shema in the evening, then on one's bed one only needs to say the first paragraph of Shema. If one has not yet done his nighttime Shema of 3 paragraphs in the right time frame, then on one's bed one would say all 3 paragraphs of the Shema. Now, we also say the Shema as part of Kedusha in Musaf. Do the Sfardim also do that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
They do this thing.
Yeah? Okay. So where did that come about from? Why are we saying, right, Kedusha, what are we saying, Kedusha? Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, will sanctify your name in this world the same way they do it up in the heavens. As the prophets heard the angels saying, Kadosh, 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 Hashem's v'malchus kvodo, so we too say that. As they heard the angels saying, Baruch kavod Hashem imkomo, we too say that. How about the Shema Yisroel? Why is that part of our Musaf Kedusha on Shabbat and on holidays? So the Art Scroll Ciner explains, during the middle of the 5th century, the Persian king Yezdegerd II forbade the Jews to observe the Sabbath and recite the Shema. His purpose was to eradicate belief in God as the Creator, which is symbolized by Shabbat, and in his oneness, which is proclaimed by the Shema. To ensure that the Shema would not be read in defiance of his decree, he stationed guards in the synagogue for the first quarter of the day. That's when the Shema must be read. To counteract his design, the sages instituted 2 recitations of the first verse of the Shema. One here after the morning blessings. That's what we have. We have a Shema, at least the first pasuk. We have that before we get to Psuke de Zimra, before we start, which was to be recited at home, and therefore not be under the supervision, under the jurisdiction of these guards. And another as part of the Shabbat Kedusha of Musaf. Right? By that time, the guards were no longer there. Where else do we have a similar thing, a similar decree that caused us to push off a mitzvah till later on in the day? So we have a general rule. Zrizin makdimin lemitzvot. You're supposed to do a mitzvah in the earliest possible time. So there's a mitzvah that comes around once a year. Right? Tkiyat shofar, the blowing of the shofar. right? Yet we push that off until after the Torah reading. We push that off till later in the day, in the morning. We don't do it right away. Why is that? So the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah tells us that there was a decree against the shofar blowing. We were afraid that there were guards that were there, or they thought that we were getting together, and that was a blast to gather to rebel, and therefore it was pushed off till later on in the davening, and that way it's clearly not a call to assemble to rebel, but rather it's simply a part of our service, or the guards, the sentries, were no longer there at the time. Similarly, with the Shema, we pushed it off until Musaf. So we say it, or they would say it before davening in their homes, when they would daven the first part of the brachot, etc. at home, and as on Shabbat and Yom Tov as part of Musaf. Although these services only contain the first verse of the Shema, without the following 3 paragraphs, this is sufficient to fulfill the Shema obligation in cases of extreme emergency. Even when Yezdegerd was killed in response to the prayers of the sages and his decree was lifted, these 2 Shema recitations remained part of the regular ritual, as does the blowing of the shofar done later on in the day. And the one that has been recited at home was moved to this part of the synagogue service, to what we call the karbanot, that are said before we start Psukei de Zimra on Shabbat. So we have the Shema in the morning, we have the Shema at night, we have the Shema that is said in our as we're going to sleep. We have the Shema before the davening. We have the Shema that is said as part of the Musaf, Kedusha. We also call out Shema at the very, very end of Yom Kippur. At the conclusion of Ne'ilah, we call out the Shema. That's source number 5. Right? And there, the goal of Yom Kippur is not simply atonement for ourselves, but our resolve to use God's mercy properly. Therefore, we end Ne'ilah with Israel's historic declaration, our pledge of allegiance, our declaration of loyalty to Hashem. Shema is also part of the Brit Milah, at least the way it's done in Israel. Shema is part of a Brit Milah at the Brit, and the night before also there is a custom to gather together and to say the Shema by the bed, by the side of that infant who's about to enter into the Brit Milah, the covenant of Avraham Avinu. In the Torah, we also find that the Shema was called out as we were going out to battle. Right? Before we go into a battle, there'll be a Kohen who is known as Meshuach Milchama. He was anointed for this battle to help the soldiers. He was, I guess, the chaplains that we have nowadays is fashioned after this idea that we find in the Torah. And it says there in Devarim, Ki teitzei lemilchama, source number 6, when you go out to battle, al oivech, against your enemies, v'ra'ita, you'll see sus v'rechev, am rav mimcha, you'll see horses and chariots and armies that are more numerous, greater than yours, lo tira mehem, do not be afraid of them. You think of the Israeli army in 1967, right? How many millions of Arab soldiers were there, right? Lo tiram, do not be afraid of them. Ki Hashem Elokecha, imach, Hashem your God is with you. Hamalcha, the one who brought you out of the land of Egypt, Eretz Yisrael. Vaya, and it'll be kikaravchem el milchama, where you draw close to the battle. V'nigash hakohen, this Kohen that was anointed for battle. V'nigash hakohen, he will draw forward. V'diber, will speak to the people of Amalem, and he say to them, Shema Yisrael, listen, O Israel, Atem kravim hayom el milchama. You are drawing close today to battle against your enemies. Al yerach levavchem. Do not let your hearts weaken. Al tiru, do not be afraid. Al techbezu, don't be alarmed. Al teretzu, mipnehem, do not be afraid of them. And the Gemara actually points out on this source number 7, Ma'ishna Shema Yisroel. Why does this Kohen, this anointed Kohen for battle, why does he call out with Shema Yisroel? Rabbi Yochanan, Shema ben Yochai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. Hashem it's as if Hashem is telling us, Afilu lo kiyantem el kriyat Shema. Even if the only thing you've fulfilled is the Shema of Shacharit va'arvit, even if that's the only mitzvah that you have on your resume, I atem nimsarin bi'adam. You are safe. You will not be given over into their hands. Yes, Jan?
It also kind of seems like it's a very subtle reminder. So many times soldiers thought that God wasn't going to be on the campaign. Like when the spies came back and they thought they were going to have to do it all themselves.
Right.
So
good
if
point.
you say Shema Yisrael, you're already invoking that you know God is going to be with you on
right,
the campaign.
and you're not there on your own. There's a great story. I think it was with the Bedicheva Rebbe, who was known as an incredible Ohev Yisrael, a tremendous lover of Israel, and he always I've told many stories about him. He'd always manage. He's always managed to find a zechut, to find some sort of a merit on behalf of the people. Famously, people came to the shul, they were all upset. Rabbi, can you believe it? The Jewish wagon drivers, they're there with their talis and tefillin, and they're under their wagons greasing the axles so they can start, right when davening ends, and they'll have some work, they'll be ready to go. With their talis and tefillin, it's terrible. And he said, wow, such righteous people. Even as they grease their axles, they're davening to Hashem. Amazing, amazing. So a person once came to I think it's also to the Bedicheva, right? And he said, Rabbi, it says in the Shema that if you'll do the mitzvot, you'll get all these blessings. I don't do any of these mitzvot. And I have so many blessings in life. I'm wealthy, family, you name it, I've got it. Right? And I don't do any of these mitzvot. And he smiled and he said, wow, you know what it says in the Shema. You must have said the Shema. You should know that all the wealth in the world can't pay a person for saying for saying the Shema. So the soldiers go out, the Kohen lets them know that no matter what, Hashem is with you. If all you have is the zechut, is the merit of saying the Shema, then Hashem is with you. Now, yes?
Does saying the Shema when the soldiers come out, is that in any way related to the reason why perhaps at all synagogues, some synagogues, that the person who takes the Torah out on Shabbos, one of the things he says at that point is also Shema?
Yeah. I don't know if it's linked to going out to battle, but certainly as we're taking out the Torah, that is a time before reading the Torah for us to lay down, and not just lay down, but to pronounce those basic principles of faith.
I was thinking that when the Aaron led.
He been so Aaron, Moshe, that's very nice. Maybe, Rob. Maybe. I never thought of it in that light before. That's very nice. We're speaking about Vahi ben so Aaron, right? May the enemy scatter, right? Right? After we say that, so then we invoke the Shema Yisrael. Very nice. I never made that connection before. Very, very nice. Now, we also know that Shema is something that is mentioned by martyrs. Very, very famously, the Gemara towards the end of Bracha, source number 8, B'sha'a she'otziat Rabbi Akiva lahariga. At the time that they took Rabbi Akiva out to be murdered, to be executed. This was because he had the audacity to be teaching Torah publicly when the Romans had prohibited such nefarious activities. Zman kriyat Shema haya. It was the time of Shema. Vayu sorkin et besaro. And they were combing his flesh, b'masrei kochel barza, with iron combs. Vayu mekabel alav ol malchut shamayim. And he accepted upon himself the yoke of the heavenly, of the kingdom of heaven. Amalo Tamidav, his student said to him, Rabbeinu ad kan, even now. Amalem, he said to him, Kol yamai, all of my days, hayiti mitztaer al pasuk zeh. I was troubled by this verse that we say in the Shema. B'chol nafshecha, right? Serve Hashem b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol ma'odecha. B'chol nafshecha means all of your soul, which means afilu notel et nishmatecha, even if it means sacrificing your life. Amarti, I said, Matayavo liadiva kayamena. I said, when will the opportunity come to my hand and I will fulfill it? V'achshav, shebali yadi lo kayamena. And now that I have the opportunity, will I not fulfill it? Hayamarich be'echad. And he stretched out his Shema Yisroel Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Ad sheyatzta nishmato be'echad. His soul left him as he said the word Echad. Yatzta bat kol, a heavenly voice came out for Amr and said, Ashrecha Rabbi Akiva. How fortunate are you, Rabbi Akiva, sheyatza nishmatcha be'echad, that your soul left you as you were saying Echad. And Jews, if they are about to be killed, right, or about to die, right, they would say the Shema. In the world wars, you had situations, well, more World War I than World War II, where you had Jews who were loyal Russian soldiers and Jews who were loyal German soldiers, right? And as one soldier would kill another soldier, he would hear his brother saying the Shema and would realize that he had that this was another one of his brethren, right? You know the story about this very, very religious guy who had a horse. Alan, you like this one, right? And right, so he trained this horse to say different things, right? And Shema Yisroel, right? The horse would come to a stop. Baruch Hashem, the horse would start going. Well, his friend's riding on this horse, and he's got confused what the orders are, right? And the horse is galloping towards this cliff, and he's saying, he can't remember what things to say to make it stop. And just in desperation, he calls out, Shema Yisroel Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And the horse grinds to a halt. He goes, oh, Baruch Hashem. It's just a joke. Okay.
The word Shema could be translated as listen up, instead of just not the passive here.
Yes,
but
yes,
pay attention.
absolutely,
Listen.
Absolutely. The next week, which will be the fourth and final in our series of Shema, we're going to go into many of the deeper hidden meanings and aspects of the Shema, and I'm going to take apart those that first pasuk, right, very, very thoroughly. You're 100% right, Ida. 100% right.
So I think a much stronger word.
Yeah. Now, this is from a relative of Ida, the Chachmas Adam, right? Source number 9 is the Chachmas Adam of Avram Danzig.
Great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather,
What a blessing.
right? The author of the Chachmas Adam. And he writes, and he was the author, we've mentioned a number of times, the Tfilat Zaka. That is a beautiful tefillah of purification that we say on Yom Kippur. Privately, we say it before Kol Nidre. That was authored by Ida's great-grandfather, right, the Chachmas Adam. Seidur Vidoy Shchiv Meira, the order of confession that a person says on their deathbed. Vayomer, he says Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shein Kavod Malchuto Liolam Va'ed. And this is often a difficult situation, right? Very often, those around, others who are there, will say it on behalf of the person at a point when they're no longer able to say it, right? And we always feel, I should speak myself, I always feel a little bit uneasy, telling the person, say it along with me, right? Because you don't want the person to give up hope, right? But the proper thing to do is let the person know that there's any chance we say this, and this should be a merit, that it shouldn't actually be needed for many, many, many years going forward. But that is, in fact, a part of the vidui, the confession that a person says when they are on their deathbed, when they feel their life is leaving them, or when they when they feel that they are leaving this life. Yes.
And we have no idea at all how much the dying person perceives. So that if we don't know to what extent that can be a comfort to the person who's lying there unconscious. Yeah. It's a great mystery. So therefore, 100%. We do it no matter
100%. What. And even if we'll say that in a physical sense, the person seems to be, not receptive and nothing is going in. But if that's the point the person is at, then the neshama is starting to leave them, and their awareness is actually a lot more acute than it is even when we are alive and we think we're fully aware of all that's going on around us, and we are not the least bit aware of all that is going on around us. Yeah. We said the Shema when I was there in your house with Bob. Right? We said all of that. Yeah. Okay, let's transition a little bit to how one is supposed to say the Shema. Right? Not the when, but the how. Okay? Now, of course, whenever we are davening, we are supposed to be paying attention to what we're saying and not just going through. Someone who was not familiar with. Thank God here we don't have a lot of talking during davening, right? But some shuls really have serious struggles with decorum, and have to keep stopping and shushing, and right. And someone who was not familiar with that, thankfully, right, was kind of in shock seeing how much talking was going on, right? So why do they come? Right? Why are they coming to prayers? Right? So certainly we need to focus on all the things that we are saying when we are davening, right? And certainly every word of the Shema, but at least, well, the Rambam writes in Hilchot Kriyat Shema, source number 10 in the Laws of Kriyat Shema, at least minimally concentrate when you're saying the first verse. Hakorei et Shema, one who read the Shema, v'lo kiven libo b'pasuk rishon, and did not focus his or her concentration on that first verse, which is Shema Yisroel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, lo yatsa yedei chovato. One has not fulfilled their obligation. And therefore the Rambam continues over there in Halacha Chet and writes, Hakorei Kriyat Shema lo yirmos be'einav. Do not, hint, do not indicate with your eyes to tell someone something. V'lo yikrotz b'svatav. Right? Don't motion with your lips. V'lo yireh be'etzbotav. Don't motion with your fingers. Kedei shelo teh kriyat arai. It should not be secondary to anything else that you are doing. V'im asa kain, if one did that, af al pi sheyatsa yidei chovato, even though if one did concentrate, one will still have fulfilled their obligation, but harei zeh meguna, but is considered to be disgraceful, right? It is lowly. right? So that's not a time to be indicating anything to anyone else. It's a time to be focusing on our davening.
So in the art school it says for this first verse you should also really focus on Hashem as controlling everything.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll do that and I'll think Hashem instituted, people who can invent medical devices and then I'll kind of get on that jag and I won't focus. It's very hard to focus on Echad as well.
Yeah. Look, that's Janet. I don't think you're the only one who has this challenge. Right? We all have the challenge of concentration.
One part of it, and then it displaces the next part.
Well, so you have to concentrate harder and not allow yourself to just go off into imagine world, as we all love to do or want to do when we are davening.
And you get this really general mood, and you're there.
Okay.
And then you say, teach it diligently to your children. Yep. So you think of a baby, but then you're not.
Janet, I understand all the examples, right? And we have to try to, they say the joke, right? The pasuk says, "Eila v'rechev, eila v'susim," right? They with their chariots, they with their horses. V'anachnu, when we're victorious in battle, how? B'shem Hashem Elokeinu nazkir. We mention Hashem, as we saw by the Kohanim going out to battle, and by mentioning God's name, that's how we are victorious in battle. But the joke they say is, Eila v'rechev, eila v'susim. They, if they want to travel, they need horses, they need chariots. And anachnu, we, Shem Hashem Elokeinu nazkir. We mention God's name, we start to daven, and next thing you know, we're in Israel, we're with the babies, with the medical devices, we're on a beach in Hawaii. We mention Hashem's name, and we don't need the horses to travel. That's the challenge. We get it. We get it. That's the challenge. Janet, I understand. That's the challenge we all have. Okay. Now, one of the practices that we do in the Shema is that we cover our eyes. And this is actually based on an episode that took place in the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan, we learn Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Zo Kriyat Shema Shel Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, right? That would, right? He would say just that first pasuk and leave out the rest until a later point. Amalei Rav L'Rav Chia Rav Rav Chia Lo Chazinu LeRebbe the Mekavlei Malchut Shemayim, right? Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was giving a shear from the early time in the morning, straight through the time that one is meant to say Shema. So he said, he never said Shema. Amalei, he said back to him, Bar Pachti, son of great ones, you didn't notice. Bisha Shema v'yadav al panav, when he put his hands on his face, at that point, Mekabel alav ol malchut shamayim. At that point is when he had said the Shema, at least the first verse of Shema, and had accepted upon himself the kingdom of heaven. Okay? And therefore the Levush in source number 13 says that we emulate Yehuda Nasi, Lefikach, therefore Akori at Shema. If a person who reached Shema v'lo kiven liba b'pasuk rishon and did not have kavanah the first pasuk, as we quoted the Rambam up above in source number 10, lo yatsi de chavato, has not fulfilled his obligation, and therefore v'gam noagin liten yedem al paneihem v'kriyat Shema pasuk rishon, and we have a custom to cover our faces, our eyes, with our hands when we say that first verse, kedei shelo yistakel b'davar acher, right? In order to not look, gaze, get distracted, looking at anything else, shemona'o milechavein, which will hold a person back from properly concentrating. So therefore, being that you have to have kavanah for that first pasuk of Shema, therefore we cover our eyes to shut out anything that might be considered distracting. Rav Yaakov Asher Sinclair and also Rabbi Avram Twersky writes about this in a similar way. He writes, source number 14, the message of Shema runs counterintuitive to everything that our eyes tell us. Right? right? We look around the world and we see so much pain, so much tragedy, so much, such horrific things that are going on. And we're saying, Shema Yisroel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, God is controlling everything. It's counterintuitive to everything that our eyes tell us. Our physical senses do not teach us that nothing else exists except for Him. Quite the reverse. Our senses tell us that if anything exists at all, it's me. From my point of view, the world could be an ultra high definition 3D movie with surround sound. My instinctive perception is that nothing else exists except for me. The Shema is the way we reverse this paradigm. The Shema is the way the Jew sees beyond the picture that his five senses paint. Okay? That's one aspect. Another aspect, which Rabbi Twersky speaks about, I think Rabbi Sachs also speaks about this, is that we have to realize that our perception of events is incredibly limited and superficial. The example I like to give, a person witnessed the most horrific barbarism that he could have imagined. A group of people grabbed the person, tied the person down, knocked the person unconscious, and were taking knives and cutting the person up. Right? Disgusting, barbaric, unless it's surgery. Right? If a person's unfamiliar with surgery, they think it's barbaric. It's barbaric. If you understand surgery, you see that this is a gift. This is kindness. This is life. This is life-saving. So very often we see something and we don't understand it. Our senses are limited to only seeing the very, very superficial. And therefore, we cover our eyes to figuratively demonstrate that our vision is so limited. And therefore, at times we need to shut out that which our eyes perceive of the world around us and recognize that that is not the reality, that is the superficiality. And by covering our eyes, then we are able to proclaim Shema Yisroel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad.
Why is it not sufficient to just close your eyes? Why cover it with your hand?
It's a good question.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Let's give that some thought. I'm not sure. Anybody, any ideas on that?
Possibly emulating Hashem's hand, covering our eyes with our own, so that we can focus on
Okay. Right. It might be like more of a definite action that, I'm not sure. Rick, what were you saying?
I was thinking that, I purpose to close the outside world out. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Why that more than closing the eyes? I'm not sure. Let me poke around a bit. So if we are, emulating Yehuda Nasi, that's what he did, right? If the idea is kavanah, right, and a recognition of our inability to truly understand what's going on around us, then I'm not sure why the eyes, closing one's eyes would not suffice. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Rabbi?
Yes, I.
In a journalism class, the teacher, the class was discussing accurate reporting, and in the middle of it, a fight broke out, a terrible, terrible fight, and they separated. And then the teacher asked the class to write down what they saw. No two people saw the same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody saw something different.
Yeah. So even in a physical sense, our vision is very, very skewed. That's what we saw by the, in this week's parsha with the Meraglim. They saw what they wanted to see. Yeah.
Or from their personal experience, whatever.
Yeah.
Rabbi.
Yes.
It goes on with the same thing with women when they're lighting the candles for Shabbos. They close their eyes, they cover their eyes, not just close their eyes.
Yeah. So they don't want to get hana'ah benefit until they. Look, it might. Yeah, you're right. Right. We don't say women should make the brother and close their eyes and open their eyes. We say they should cover their eyes. It could just be as
Makes it darker.
It's an extra level, right? It's an extra level of covering over. I mean, I don't think anybody when they cover their eyes has their eyes open. Anybody do that? I don't. I close my eyes when I cover my eyes with my hand, right? So maybe it's just that that double.
Only if you're doing the bat smart.
Okay. A few other sources, and then I want to read something. I was hoping Roberta would be here today. There's an article that was written by her son David, Zichrono Livracha, that was on the Shema. So I'll share that with you afterwards. I think I gave him the source sheet. Yeah. Okay. We have a custom also when it comes to different things with the tzitzit. So let's hear where that goes. Source number 15 is a Shulchan Aruch. Mitzvah le'achoz ha-tzitzit biyad smalit keneged libo. It's a mitzvah to hold the tzitzit in one's left hand. That way it's across from one's heart at the time of Shema, right? At least for the last paragraph. Remez ledavar. A hint to this is these words should be where? On your heart. So we take the tzitzit, the mitzvah, we hold it across from our heart. The Ramah adds on in source number 16, Yesh noagin listakel b'tzitzit. Some of the custom to look at the tzitzit. Kishemagiyim, when they reach the words of Uri'item oto, and you shall see them and remember all the mitzvot. V'litem otam alinayin. Some people then put them literally onto their eyes. Uminag yafehu v'chivuvei mitzvah. And it is a good custom, and it shows how much we love the mitzvah. Gam noagin k'tzat l'nashek hatzitzit. Some also have the custom to kiss the tzitzit. B'sha'ah shero'abam, when he sees them. V'akol hu chivuv mitzvah. All of that is chivuv, is this showing this endearment towards the mitzvah. And the Chavetz Chaim, the Mishnah Brewer brings Katuv B'Kitvei Arizal, he brings from the great Kabbalist Arizal, Sheyochazem, you should hold them, Bein Kamitza Lezeret. The tzitzit go between the pinky and the ring finger. Velite, Kshekila Parshat Tzitzit, and when you come to the Parsha of Tzitzit, Yikachem Gam B'Yad Yamin, V'Yabit Bahem. So you're holding them over here in your left hand, you come to the third Parsha, then you hold them also with your right hand. V'Yabit Bahem, and look at them, right, with what they're supposed to remind us of, which we discussed. V'yu B'Yado, and it should be in your hand, Ad Shemegia, Le-Ne'emanim, V'Nechamadim, La'ad, right, which is in the paragraph Yatziv after the Shema. V'az yinashek hatzitzit, and then you kiss the tzitzit one last time. V'yasireim mi yado, and then you put them down. And we mentioned before from the Meshech Chochma the idea that the tzitzit, the way that they remind us of all the mitzvot, is if this world is God's garment, then the tzitzit are the unfinished business, the strings that have yet to be completed. And that it speaks of our partnership with God in this world in making it a better place. So from the book, it's actually in a book that Eish Torah put out, on the very back you have from David Carasso, Zichrono Livracha, that's Roberta's son. The Jewish haiku, is that how you pronounce that? Haiku. Recently, my wife and I began taking a creative writing class together at the local community college. In the class, I planned to write some innocuous poems, and not wanting my every word to somehow be mistaken for Jewish wisdom, I always had a baseball hat on over my yarmulke. So he decided to go incognito and take away some of the pressure that everything in this class would have to be this great, ancient Jewish wisdom. One particular night, the class was learning about the haiku. Is that right? Yeah. A type of short poem originating in Japan. There are several specific and essential qualities that make a poem a haiku. The structure consists of 3 lines with a 5-7-5 syllable pattern. I had seen haikus before, usually in a humorous context, such as, no fins, no flippers. The gefilte fish swims with some difficulty. While these poems are funny and follow the 5-7-5 pattern, that night in class we learned that haikus often convey a profound thought or insight. Later that night, driving home from class, I noticed the darkness in the sky and the few stars out. I started thinking about the Shema, the most important Jewish prayer, the Jewish Pledge of Allegiance, which testifies to our belief in one God. Some neurons thinking about the class and some neurons thinking about the Shema must have greeted each other, because my heart started racing and my fingers went up in the air to count the syllables. Shema Yisroel. Hashem Elokeinu HaHashem Echad. I gulped hard. 5, 7,